Hello everyone, we're from second group and here's our member.
Hello, my name is Annisa Maghzar Vidyantoro.
My name is Aisyah Imanira Islam.
My name is Rahma Indriani.
Last but not least, I'm Fachira Selima Putri Prasetia and we're going to present about Daystar, a poem by Rita. But before we get into the poem, let's talk about the author. Rita Duff, or Rita Frances Duff, is an American poet who was born in Akron, Ohio on 28 August 1952. She is the first African American who has been appointed to be a Poet Laureate consultant in poetry to the Library of Congress since the position was created by an Act of Congress in 1986. In 1987, she was awarded the Pulitzer Prize for her third collection of poetry, Thomas and Beulah. She also had received Lifetime Achievement Medals from the Library of Virginia and the Fulbright Association, the 2014 Carol Weinstein Poetry Prize, the 2019 Wallace Stevens Award from the Academy of American Poets, the 2021 Gold Medal for Poetry from American Academy of Arts and Letters, and many more.
Hello, it's Chindy. About lexical thematic dimension of this poem. First, let's take a look at the poem itself, Daystar by Rita Duff. She wanted a little room for thinking, but she saw diapers steaming on the line, a doll slumped behind the door. So she lugged a chair behind the garage to sit out the children's naps. Sometimes there were things to watch. The pinch armor of a vanished cricket, a floating maple leaf. Other days, she stared until she was assured. When she closed her eyes, she'd see only her own vivid blood. She had an hour, at best, before Lisa appeared, pouting from the top of the stairs. And just what was Mother doing? Out back with the field mice. Why? Building a palace. Later, that night, when Thomas rolled over and lurched into her, she would open her eyes and think of the place that was hers. For an hour, where she was nothing, pure nothing, in the middle of the day. So the poem used third-person omniscient point of view because, as it states in the first line, it says she, and then in the 11th line, it says her. It used the possessive pronouns of she. So the narrator isn't involved in the story, but the narrator knows how the character feels. It's clear that it's written in a third-person omniscient point of view. Next, let's talk about the theme and meaning of this poem. This poetry talks about a mom who's having the best time of her life when she's on her free time. And she was nothing, just pure nothing in the middle of the day. How so? Let's talk about the poetry. More detail. In the first line, it said that she wanted a little room for thinking. This line explained that she wanted a time for herself, or doing her things. It could be anything, or it could also imply that she wanted to be alone. But in line 2 and 3, she saw diapers steaming on the line, a doll slumped behind the door. It tells that she had a lot of things to do, which is domestic chores of a mother, of a mom. In the 4th and 5th line, so she lugged a chair behind the garage to sit out the children's naps. It explained that she can only take rest when the children are taking a naps. In line 6, 7, and 8, it explained that she sometimes has something to watch, like the pinch armor of a vanished cricket, a floating maple leaf. It seems peaceful. But then in the next line, when she closed her eyes, she'd only see her own vivid blood, which means she saw nothing, but her pain and loneliness.
Hello everyone, my name is Aisyah Imanira Islam and I'm here will be explain about what my friend has explained before. It's about theme and the line's meaning. So, the fourth verse explained about the girl's identity as a mother and Lisa as her daughter. This proven by line 12 and 14, which said when Lisa appeared, she is doing things like what other mothers do. The next one is about Thomas' appearance in last verse can be understood as main character's partner or Lisa's father. As the line says, later that night when Thomas rolled over and lurched into her in line 16, 17, and 18, because we thought that when he did rolled over and lurched into her are the things that usually can be done as a partner. The last one is the place that was hers for an hour where she was nothing, pure nothing in the middle of the day. In line 19 until 22, these lines define the hour when she just being herself, not being a mother and a wife, when she had a time for herself in one time. It also referring to the time when she is free, unassociated with domestic responsibilities. The next part that I will explain here is figure of speech that used by Rita in this poem. But before that, the definition of figure of speech itself is a word or phrase that intentionally differs from ordinary language used to produce a rhetorical effect to enhance the beauty in writing. This poem used several figure of speech. The first one is metaphor. This poetry includes metaphor in a few lines. For example, in the first line, it says she wants a little room for thinking, means she wants a time for thinking or she wants a time for herself. In the 11th line, her own vivid blood is a metaphor for her loneliness and pain. And in the 19th and 20th lines, the place that was hers for an hour meant that a condition before she was a wife and a mother. The second one is imagery. This poem used imagery in the second line. The opposite theming on the line meant that she is a mother and she needs to clean and take care of the house as her responsibility. The last one is hyperbole. The poem used hyperbole in the 12th and 13th line. She had an hour, at best, before Lisa appeared pouting from the top of the stairs. These lines used to emphasize that she only had a little time to rest.
Back again with me, Selima, and now I'm going to explain about the visual dimension. Visual dimension focuses on visual design elements and plays with the form of a poetry to convey its meaning. This element usually concentrate on the poem's shape or visual appearance, making a step further towards visual art. This can be achieved by combining the pictorial aspect of language and writing, or combining visual art and written expression to create new ways of presenting and interpreting poetry. Though, this poem doesn't have visual dimensions because there is no certain shape or visual appearance that could be seen. Next, I'm going to talk about rhythmic acoustic. Rhythmic acoustic itself is a study about the sounds of poetry in each line. In this section, there's rhyme and meter, and I'm going to explain about rhyme. Rhyme is a repetition of sounds between two words that usually placed at the end of the line. In this poem, there's no repetition of sounds between lines that create a pattern. This poem focuses more on the natural flow of the word and imagery it used rather than following specific rhyme scheme.
Hello, my name is Annisa Maghzar Vidyantoro, and I'm going to continue explaining about meter in this poem in Daystar. What meter does this poem include? What meter does this poem mostly use? Well, let us see. But before we go any further, we have to know the definition of the word meter. What is meter actually? Well, simply, meter is combinations that shape pattern of unstressed, weak pronouns and stressed, strong pronounced syllables in a line of a poetry. Well, when we analyze poetry, then of course we're going to meet meter and analyze if this poetry is classified to what meter. There's a 4 meter. They are trochaic, anapestic, and iambic, and dactylic. Well, even a line of a poetry, there is a combination of stressed syllables and unstressed syllable that shape pattern. It means that it should be continuously the same in a line of a poetry. Then we can call it meter and classify it into those 4 meters. But if there's just one combinations, or it doesn't continuously the same, so it doesn't shape patterns, then that is not meter. It cannot be called meter or classified into that 4 things. Well, how we decide whether the word is stressed or unstressed? How I decide? Well, there is a table that was my guidance when I decide whether the word is stressed or not. And then I came into this analyzation of Daystar. This is my analyzation. And when we see this, we can tell that there is no single patterns that shaped here. Patterns of stressed or unstressed syllable in any line of this poetry. There is no single patterns. Let us take the first line as an example. She wanted a little room for thinking. Unstressed followed by stressed, followed by unstressed, unstressed again, followed by stressed, unstressed, stressed, and then unstressed, stressed, and then unstressed. But there is no combination that shape patterns here. They're all different. There is no pattern that created that is the same until the end of the line. The first line has no meter, and also the second line, and also the third line, and the rest of the line we can see here. It means Daystar is a free verse of a poetry because there is no single meter or combinations of unstressed and stressed syllable which creates pattern in any line of this poetry. We can see there. Well, what is free verse poetry? Free verse poetry is an open form of a poetry which has no consistent meter pattern, yes, or rhyme that my friend explained before. Simply, it has no rhythmic acoustic dimensions. So my conclusion is Daystar is a free verse poetry that has no rhythmic acoustic dimensions. Well, thank you. That is all about my explanation. Goodbye.
That's all from us. Thank you very much for staying with us until the end. I hope this video can help you understand more about Rita Duff's Daystar. Again, thank you and see you next time.